two teams that I'm really looking forward to watching. The number one seed Scranton Storm going up against the number two seed in Johnstown Steel. And well, number one, number two making these grand finals. You always like to see that, which means that things are shaping up for something spicy.
Scranton Storm coming in off of a perfect season, 8-0 during the regular season, which got them a bye directly into this grand finals. Johnstown coming in with a 5-3 record, had to go through the semifinals and make it through the Indiana Warhawks to fight their way here. They did so with a 3-1 victory in that semifinals. So that's they've earned their spot, but I think they've got their toughest opponent yet coming up against Scranton Storm.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Scranton Storm, like you said, undefeated in the regular season. There's a reason for that, and this team, basically the highest level of Overwatch, at least from a ranking standpoint that you're looking at. Johnstown still though they don't have any slackers either though. I mean, let's keep this real. This is a competitive team, and the difficulty I think realistically is going to be just shaping up to the individual skill level that Scranton Storm has on display. My eyes very much in towards Spectrum is going to be playing on support, is one of the higher ranked players on the team. Really going to be important for them to set the tone and be able to really coordinate effectively.
And Dino as well, their support partner for Johnstown Steel. Two GM players on this squad, two of the highest ranked players on this squad, facing what looks to be an entire GM roster out of Scranton Storm. So what does that mean? That means faster decision making, faster engagements than Johnstown may be used to. So really look into these two supports, the support duo of Dino and Spectrum, to help keep Johnstown competitive and keep them up to speed to be able to react and proactively take these fights with the speed necessary to go up against an all GM squad.
No doubt for that one. We're seeing right now what potentially will be the teams as they roll out. We're seeing a pretty classic tank lineup here for Johnstown Steel. Whereas it's Monkey Reinhardt. Surely that's going to change. Maybe. Did I say that? No. No, we're gonna stick with the interesting duo there. As Downeyport does swap it up to a Tracer though, with the teleport coming in.
Oh, but immediately Dino and Chili are caught off as Deca comes in with a quick two-punch combo. And just like that, that was Scranton Storm with a very swift advantage that they're now pursuing all the way back to the spawn doors.
Yeah, and that's that pace that you were talking about, right? So, I mean, Johnstown even teleported, and they got beat to the point. The pace with which Scranton were moving was simply fantastic. And we see XCD has already swapped off of the Reinhardt, feeling that that is not going to be working and is going to go for some disruption with this ball.
And I mean, try to avoid these two tanks, these two unusual main tank duo. I mean, it's a bulldozer comp typically, or at least designed to beat a double shield, but that means that a Reinhardt is just getting burned down by both of them. There's nothing the shield can do to block that. So I like the swap, and it served them well. It's been a much more competitive second engagement here, as we see Chili coming up with a great pair of kills. This is going to be a flip.
It absolutely is. And the other side of that is, you just mentioned Chili, able to take the skies, able to do a lot of damage, as well as create a lot of space in order for that tank line to do enough disruption. But as we get in here, Pulse Bomb already out. It's going to miss its mark.
Oh, Geo going down to the streets below. Oh, there's another one too. Basilisk is able to return the favor. Both players losing teams off the edge with environmentals left and right. Ricochet might have found their way down there, but Chili really able to focus them down with that beam. Good hold from Johnstown still.
Yeah, overall looking pretty good. Johnstown, I was worried for them, but they've done a good job of really creating a niche for themselves.
Chatter's gonna find a couple. Chili Willie's like, all right, that looks fun. I'm gonna go grab a Reinhardt of my own. Built up towards a Shatter there, while the Primal Rage being unleashed from the other side. But Chili Willie able to throw down the hammer in the lobby, in the entryway to the objective, find a couple of picks, and are running off the remaining members. Deca trying to get out of there, found some reinforcements, and a quick re-engage coming through from Scranton. They flipped the point.
That's insane that they were able to flip this point, because realistically, they haven't won this fight. Johnstown Steel is still here, but ultimately the flip is deadly for them.
Quite deadly, because that means throughout this entire engagement, it's Scranton who are building up percentage throughout that fight when it could have gone the other way around. Robin 10%, I guess, off the board, right underneath the eyes of Johnstown.
Yeah, and with that, Scranton is in such a good position now. They have good ultimates online. I mean, Downey able to potentially utilize this pulse bomb, and this time maybe find a target to put it on to further delay things here as the push is coming back through very slowly from Johnstown.
Oh, a stick onto either one of these supports would be disastrous, especially as we're getting close to that 75% mark. Sound barrier out from Spectrum first. Basilisk still a couple of percent away, and that timing was spot on. Able to move in with that extra shielding and clean up. That with 1 second later, that would not have worked. Great play by Spectrum.
Yeah, and they got rid of Downey very early, so there was no difficulty with the whole bomb. And we see that swapping off here for Scranton. This is a must-win moment, though, here for Johnstown Steel, and they used a lot of their ults. It's very much on towards Dusty to win this fight.
Oh, and the land onto the support indeed. Stuck, caught out. Spectrum is gone, and now there's a sound barrier engage. It's going to be a self-destruct and a Death Blossom to try to buy some time, but immediately Scranton strike right back and able to clean house, finding 3-4 kills. Point in their favor. We'll see if Johnstown can get back.
Yeah, I mean, it was 84% before before they were taking it back for Scranton, so ultimately this is going to be possible. The ball is shaping up, but it's really going to be a matter of time, and they can get on. Chile has a chance.
And the touch is there. Mine's out on the point, but once again, Spectrum goes down first. The Coalescence coming out to try to pick up the difference. Chile duplicating the ride once again. Has the Hanzo caught in the corner. Batters down Deca, who did have that Dragon online, but unfortunately it's the only kill for Johnstown. As Downey and the rest of the crew are able to clean up. It was a close opening sub-map, but Scranton do take it in the end.
Yeah, there's two things I think big to pay attention to there. Well, number one, Chili Willy doing a really good job of keeping Johnstown Steel alive in a lot of those scenarios, but ultimately Scranton winning that initial engagement and finding so much success early on just gave them the advantage so that they could pick up the ult economy, and that, you know, once 84% ticked away, they had those ults to work with. As we head into the second stage here of Lijiang Tower, we're seeing much the same from the Scranton side of things, but we're seeing some swap ups here. It's double shield now, XZD, and back on the Reinhardt and Worm as the Sigma in tow. Chili Willy initialized with the Symmetra last time out. It's going to do the same. I wonder if we're going to see an insta swap from them, but looks like not.
At least not for this first engagement. I mean, hey, the close quarters, the Symmetric will work very well, particularly against this Tracer. It means Downeypour's got to be very careful how they engage, but Deca can just sit back and throw tree trunks down, and Dusty Taco felt the brunt of that right out of the gate. Returning the favor, Memorial off the battlefield. Bulk of the healing absent from Scranton Storm right now. Johnstown still with an opportunity to come here and overwhelm, but Deca won't let him. Deca picks off the Baptiste and the Reinhardt, even in the odds. They even given the favor over the Scranton Storm. See if they can hang on here, as first control is still in contention.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, this is buying a lot of time for players to get back, but as I'm saying that, kills are just not working out in the favor of Johnstown whatsoever. And I'm speaking, I lie. What is happening?
The tanks brought it back. It was Dino in the back, keeping both of those tanks alive, and gave just enough space and time for XCD and Worm to come in and clean this up. Finally, first control goes over to Johnstown after a very prolonged and scrappy engagement.
Yeah, a brawl, a brouhaha happening there on the point as we get going. And honestly, really, really strong for Johnstown to be able to pick that up. And a lot of that to do with the fact that you have the immortality field now as a possibility. Dino utilizing that to create some advantages in the first engagement. Now Johnstown as well have a fantastic ult advantage.
Yep, and using the Gravitic Flux Ant Matrix combo. Keep him at bay, and Geo gets smashed into the ground. Alibi trying to pick up the slack. Pulls out the Primal Rage, but not even 1,000 health is going to be enough to keep Alibi alive in this fight. No more tanks on the battlefield as Dusty Taco cleans up.
it's a perfect way to use your ult advantage aggressively. In fact, you forced out Alibi, that Primal Rage, like you just talked about, but now things have swapped just a little bit. It's going to be a lot more difficult to win this next fight, and realistically, Scranton Storm coming up on 4 of their ultimates, and Deca, the way that those tree trunks have been moving, might be picking up another one very shortly.
Yeah, Deca's already unleashed one set of dragons. But it's going to be a beat game. Sunbarriers out from both teams, as a matter of fact. The Death Blossom out. It's going to whittle through some shields. Has GO'd low, and the final blow comes through. Deca has responded in kind, and it's a 5v5 with only one tank on the board. There's a momentary preview of Overwatch 2, but it's Deca showing off the power of this Hanzo and Alibi, the power of the Scientist.
Yes, indeed. I mean, I really love how Scranton Storm didn't give up on that fight when they utilized the sound barrier. It got entirely demolished by Dusty Taco. And now as they come back in, 75% yes here for Johnstown, which means they can play this a little bit slower. They don't have to get too far forward, and maybe they just want to build some ultimates as they swap over to the Roadhog.
And early Dragons trying to separate the team, and then the Shatter is there. Worm moved on over to the Hog. No shield to block it, and that's 3 final blows with a skill orb from Ricochet. Stealing the Thunder out of Geo's massive Shatter.
Man, you don't see that every day. 3 orb kills in a row. Oh, I love it. I played Moira at one point. That's got to feel good. Oh, this is aggressive, and I love it. Trying to deny everything.
Oh, wow, look at the feed, my goodness. Everybody getting involved, 4 different players coming up with picks. Basilisk even getting into the mix, sending players off the side. Good hold from Scranton, buying a lot of percentage.
Yeah, well, the reason they did that is that they knew that they were running low on those ultimates. They were trying to build up to these supports, but it's going to be close whether the sound barrier is going to be in time as both of these ultimates come down from the attack side.
Splitting the point in half. Johnstown still using this Folk barrier very nicely so far. It's gotten them into the point without taking too much damage from the tree trunks of Deca. But Ricochet topping everybody off with this Coalescence. Another Shatter comes in. One from XZD. Beautifully done. Now the tank ult stacked on top of it from Worm. Countered by Basilisk's sound barrier. And that was well done indeed, as Basilisk enabled the team to stay in the fight despite the double tank ult and even find the picks. Emerging on top, they've got a 4-2 lead on this objective right now. Johnstown running out of time.
Yeah, it looks like this is actually going to be it as well. I don't think, well, maybe Lucio can touch. Maybe. It's going to be hard. Oh, there.
Oh, so close. So close.
Unfortunate there. The ball couldn't get there in time, but man, that actually goes all the way down to that one crazy push engagement in towards the spawn of Johnstown Steel. That's where Scranton Storm won this map, won this stage in particular, and this is the classic skill orb right there, just lighting up the feed. You'll love to see that. That's classic Moira gameplay.
Oh.
If we want to be honest, but nonetheless, back
skill
to the
orb.
point. Yes, back to the point at hand. I mean, Johnstown, they had ultimate advantage, and it was imperative that Scranton Storm create something in order to build up their ultimates. Both of those support ultimates were crucial, and both of them got huge value. You talked about it during the cast. You mentioned the Moira having the Coalescence on board. That was absolutely crucial. It allowed the buy time to both of the tank ultimates in order to basically pick up the sound barrier, which confirmed everything else, as that kept everyone healthy. So realistically, the decision making from Scranton Storm winning them that first series, that first map, and that's the sort of difference between the highest level of Overwatch gameplay and everything else.
And it's not just about using your ults to kill the other team and getting final blows, but negating the value that your opponents are getting from their ultimates, which is exactly what Basilisk and Ricochet were able to do. And it's just well-timed, well-placed sound barriers and Coalescence, respectively. But I mean, that's Johnstown Steel put up one heck of a fight. It was close. It was close on both of our submaps. You could point to one single engagement that really turned the tide. And you already touched on the aggressive move from Scranton that pushed out and gave them that ult economy. But even back on the night market, I think it was the flip that came through a little early
Yeah.
When Scranton Storm kind of pulled the point out from underneath Johnstown. If they hadn't have done that, there would have been extra percentage on that very final fight for Johnstown to make a more organized push. But it came down to one engagement on both sub map. That's a good sign for Johnstown. It wasn't a complete stomp. Very competitive. And Dino and Spectrum indeed pulling their weight as much as they possibly can and keeping Johnstown in this fight. As we move on to map number 2, we're headed to Temple of Anubis, Vince.
That we are, and well, I think this is going to be an interesting map. I really like this map from a strategic point of view. There's a lot of good counter picking that can come through. As well, I know you and I have seen oftentimes here. But Scranton Storm starting out here defensively, really excited to see where they decide to go compositionally. They were very okay with playing odd compositions that aren't necessarily, I'm going to call, quote unquote, meta, whatever that means right now, which, let's be honest, I don't really know. Nobody really knows, um
Yeah.
because of the kind of the game state. But regardless, it definitely was a little bit on the odd side this time. They've, well, I guess you could call this a little bit more traditional, but even still a little bit odd. You typically aren't going to see the Reinhardt come out with the likes of this tank. So I don't know kind of the plan here, but it's clear to me that Scranton are looking to get aggressive based on this position.
Yeah, what an unusual spot for Alibi to sit. Looking for a cheeky pin, I'm guessing here right out of the gate.
Surely.
Now, my concern with this is if Johnstown decides to go through the mega hallway and push to the right of your screen, as we're seeing it right now. But given the composition, it's going to be a little rock and roll, as I like to call it. It's a wrecking ball with the Sigma. I doubt that they're going to actually push in there. They do have Dusty Taco on this Junkrat, which could cause havoc in small, close quarters. So it's Johnstown Steel now just trying to push it up the gut. Scranton Storm are ready for it.
Yeah, it seems a little bit weird. I think you're right. Going the right side would have been a little bit better. And I mean, Geo was sort of caught out in the open. He got antied, he got slept. It really wasn't a whole lot left there, but nobody could confirm the kill. And that's going to be the difficulty here for Johnstown. Confirming kills with the shields in their face is going to be a bit difficult.
And you typically think about Wrecking Ball being in very fast-paced composition. Speaking of, Geo gets caught out immediately, but so does XZD. Downpour coming up with a great pair of kills. Very important priority targets for Downpour to take down. Now has Pulse Bomb online. What a sleep Dino! Okay, and that could be like the melee. They don't get the melee off. The important part, and Downpour returns with the Pulse Bomb. Oh my goodness, what a fun little duel between the Ana and the Tracer.
That Tracer got away with 2 HP remaining, by the way. It was as close as you can get. The good news for Johnstown is, of course, that Dusty Taco has the Rip Tire, so that could be something to try and create an opening. This first point is easy to break open if you get the right opening pick early on, and that is the sort of ultimate that can really make that happen, as we see the ball just trying to apply pressure to the back line and create a bit of a split push.
And one thing I was starting to say before that prior engagement is maybe a little patience. You always expect the Wrecking Ball to be hyper fast, but you got to set up properly with this composition. Dusty Taco will fall while the tire is rolling around. Need to find some good value with this one here, trying to rent out the Immortality field, but Basilisk gets eyes on it and able to deny the tire anything at all. That is a flat tire with no spare here for Dusty Taco. Alibi moving in is going to shatter onto Dino, get aggressive into the Mega Room. Worm finishes him with that as Dino got the nano boost off and now has Gravitic Flux up in the air. Geode very low after coming back on this ball. Immortality field forced out. They're looking to push through it. Another great sleep from Dino. Chili Willy woke him up, and Deca is able to get that ultimate off. Dino once again gets punched. Dino's trying to do everything right and still ends up dying in the end. That's 2 in a row.
Oh man, I've been there, Dino. As the Ana player on my team at one point, you sleep them, and then you don't have a sleep, and you're dead because of it. Oh, it's so frustrating. And Downpour just throwing out the Pulse Bomb for good measure, just in case things are. Sorry, that was Chili Willy. My apologies, throwing it out. This is going to swap off into the Reaper. So the Reaper here, I mean, clearly trying to adjust to what's now a monkey ball composition from Scranton. They've adjusted significantly, and they're playing so split. I want to try and punish whenever Scranton jumps onto the back line.
And I like this setup coming through. Johnstown showing a little bit more patience on this attack and rewarded with a kill already. Shields out, Geode looking low, just touch over half health, but an Ant Matrix is going to really slow things down. Try to devalue, it's a beautiful minefield on the back of that Amplification Matrix. Vasquez off the battlefield. XZD coming in clutch here with only 22 seconds left. Johnstown just might be able to push this through, but they still have Deca to worry about on this Doomfist. Geode's got mines all over the place. Chili Willy's out of the fight. XZD just trying to hide. He's got to stay alive long enough to start the overtime.
He's going to be able to do that perfectly, but there's so many players on the way back here for Scranton. A tough task here for Johnstown as overtime is ticked.
Nano Boost is going to help the survivability of XZD as Worm unleashes the Flux. Alibi caught in that, has Primal Rage. They need to get Alibi down. No, the Primal Rage is unleashed and already finds a kill with it. Tanks doing work. Geode and Alibi just not letting anybody get on this point. A big hold from Scranton. And Johnstown, it was looking promising for a moment, but the door got slammed shut.
Yeah. I mean, this didn't end up winning them the game, but I do want to go back to that minefield from XZD because it was actually brilliant. The entirety of Scranton dove into that small room there on the right hand side, and then it was XZD to come back in the minefield right behind them and cut off the exit, which is very funny and perfectly played. Unfortunately, the rest of Scranton Storm are just incredibly clutch. We saw Alibi, we saw Geode, we saw Downey all making individual plays. And whilst we saw a lot of positives from the support line, especially Dino, it's really, really difficult for that to be, the only thing that we were looking at there as, very strong. Chili Willy, who did put up a really fantastic fight on the first map of this series, was very absent, for lack of a better word, especially when they were playing on the Echo, which was the character that he was so good at before.
Yeah, Chili really went a little quiet there on the attack for Anubis. Needs to step up here. Pulling out the Reaper, perhaps in anticipation of seeing that Winston again. We'll see if Chili Willy can find the positioning. It's going to take some clever positioning to get this Reaper into a place where they can have the most impact. Right now, it's just going to be a standard defense up on this center platform.
No way they're sticking this, right? Right? Oh, they are. Oh, this is a classic setup here. And so many resources pulled out, but that's actually a very nice find from Worm. That defeats the mobility of this composition that Scranton are running.
Yeah, that was a Halt Discord hook. But the Bastion is able to just force everybody back. Johnstown caught in rotation, just getting picked off before they can find safety again as they scrambled for cover. But unfortunately, they don't have a whole lot of room to breathe here. Worm has to try to make something happen. Watching that progress bar just fill up and knowing they only need 78.4%. Scranton Storm looks like they're about to just one and done this map. Killing an XCD is going to ensure victory. And the cap comes through. Scranton Storm moving up to championship point with a 2-0 lead in our grand finals.
Yeah, and talk about domination here. I mean, that is what we just saw on Anubis. You and I discussed in the in between games here how really impressive that first map was, and it really wasn't. I mean, it really came down to a couple of key decisions. Well, this one, I mean, really, there's nothing to say other than wow. Scranton Storm just took them to the bank and cashed them in for another point on the board.
Yeah, it made that one look easy, I'm afraid. Had a good plan for Anubis. And that's part of, we have a fixed map pool. So that's Scranton Storm. There's no surprises. There's no trying to catch them off guard as to where they might go. Like you might see in a loser pick scenario with a fixed map pool. They're able to practice this map. They know what their game plan was and execute it to perfection. Scranton Storm looking really strong and like the undefeated team that we expected.
Yeah, and I think that's the case, right? Whenever you go in, you're undefeated. It is sort of the expectation that you're going to come out swinging, and I think we saw a lot from Johnstown there in map number 1. Map number 2, I think, showed the heights of what Scranton Storm can bring. But the good news for Johnstown is that they have at least one more map here to work with. It's not going to be over yet. That's
No.
for sure.
And we're going to Go to a quick intermission. Go Johnstown, a chance to discuss some strategy. When we come back, map 3, we're headed to Havana after this break.
I didn't think we could fall in love. Broken from the start, chained to our past. We had closed hearts. We are breaking free. It's just you and me. We might fall apart, far running away with our hearts. Can we break free? Can we break free? Can we break free? Can we? They were blinded, tried to deny us. Didn't think we were following our hearts. We are breaking free. It's just you and me. We might fall apart, far running away with our hearts. Can we break free? Can we break free? Can we break If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said. I took the long road, thought I'd be better on my own. Sometimes what's right is wrong instead. 'Cause I was too young, and I didn't understand that you were the one. And I can't wait to see you again. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. Hindsight is fleeting when your heart's bleeding, and all you can see is red. Till you discover it is within each other to forgive and make amends. If I had known then what I know now, I wouldn't have said what I said.
Scranton Storm up 2-0 in our TEC Amateur League Grand Finals after taking a very convincing dub on Temple of Anubis. Now, time to head to Havana. Let's test your snipers right into a long range map, Vincent.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of you kind of stole the thought right on my head there.
Same
Um,
brain cell.
because that's sort of my worry. You know, we've seen a lot of positives, I think, from Johnstown. But the DPS position, I think, is been a bit of a weakness as a whole. And I don't mean that to be rude or anything to Dusty Taka or to Chili Willy. I think they've done some really good things as well. But the reality is that we've not seen them on a singular hit scan yet. And well, I just don't know if they're going to be able to step up to the plate. Now, I sure hope they will. I'm really hoping that we're going to see something fantastic here from the both of them on Havana. But going to be difficult, and we've already seen, well, 2-0. Now their backs are up against the wall. It only gets harder from here.
And like I mean, we've seen Junkrat, we've seen Reaper, we've seen Echo. None of those are going to be very effective on Havana, particularly if Scranton Storm want to play distance. Want to keep and maximize these long sight lines that Havana provides. So I mean, we'll get the answer to this pretty darn quick once we get into this thing and see what Dusty Taco and Chili Willy have in their hero pool. Showing us a couple of hit scans out of the gate. Still plenty of time for them to discuss and change their mind on that. So let's take a look at this defense. Alibi coming in with the wrecking ball. Oh, no. Okay. It's actually the defense who are changing their minds. This is atypical, y'all. Come on. Let's settle on something. All right. It's Reinhardt wrecking ball coming out with a May and a Sim. We're looking at a close hold here.
Yeah, 100%. This is going to be a matter of how long can you make that close hold work, and it looks like to me they're not even trying to hide the ball here. You know, they're going out and they're saying, "Listen, this is what we're doing. Stop us if you can." And XED and Worm are going to do just that. They swap to the Rhine Zarya. This is exactly the sort of close hold breaker that you would want to be playing. And hey, it's out of far in there just in case for Chili Willy.
Oh. All right, I tried to get a little cheeky there with the teleport. The FAR is a great move. Classic way to break this particular hold. You can go over the rooftops, but, if you've got a Baptiste who can aim like Basilisk, Chili Willy might not find the value they're looking for. Basilisk mowing down XCD as well. This Baptiste is just a third DPS.
Absolutely, and while the difficulty is, I agree, Chili Willy, this is a great pick. But if Chili Willy isn't able to do enough damage to basically overcome the hold in enough time, then it really doesn't matter. As now we see the FAR Mercy having to be committed.
Shatter right into the spawn doors. That was a brazen move from Alibi and gets punished for their hubris immediately. Oh, I like this. Spectrum coming out with the Glock. Get him, Spectrum. Get him, Spectrum. All right, still Basilisk. Look at this, just camping in the back line. They're just setting up shop right outside the spawn doors. There's nobody with them.
Okay, surely now he should be dead. But there we go. It's about darn time. Chili Willy cleaning up both of the supports. This is going to mean a full reset, no doubt about it. Finally breaking the hold, but I mean, over a minute. I mean, that's pretty darn solid for a close hold like that. Winning an entire fight off the back of it is honestly a rarity. And now this regroup has actually been very fast. In addition, with the fact that there's some ultimates ready.
Yeah, I would like to have seen Johnstown Steel, who is on the right, by the way. Looks like our overlays aren't up there, but yeah, Johnstown Steel on the right-hand side, now nanoing their Pharah, able to get in, got the barrage up, but Worm goes down, holding that Graviton Surge. That was what they were looking for to set up this fight, and it is not going to be there.
And Immortality came in just a moment too late, and this should be a victory once again for Johnstown. Assuming this ball can get out, we might see one more regroup, and Deca has swapped over to that long-range hit scan DPS. The Widowmaker is out and about, and now Nate throwing out the pulse bomb, taking out the Ana.
Ooh, that was a nice stick once again. Now, res available, but it means the supports weren't there to help, and Alibi moves in. With no supports around, Alibi sees the opportunity to go find a triple.
Yeah, and I would love to see Chili just swap off this. It doesn't matter about the ultimate.
Agreed.
That's just not something you're going to be able to utilize effectively with Deca around. And I mean, it's hard on the best of days to use that Rocket Barrage as the Fara. So unfortunately, we're not seeing that swap. Chili Willy going to try and commit it, try and find. I mean, best case scenario, 1-for-1 here with this ultimate. I think that's really what he's looking for.
Well, and Worm swapped off. The Graviton Surge might have been able to set up the barrage, but without any setup. I mean, this is pretty much.
It was used.
It was used. Oh, okay, thank you. See, that's a teamwork. Clearly did not get the value that, at least not that I noticed. Barrage unleashed inside. Oh my! Little Widowmaker before finally getting taken down by Chili, but too little, too late.
Yeah, and again, this isn't any sort of shots at Chili's power play. I think Chili actually got the most value we realistically could have gotten there, as we see a ridiculous Earth Shatter at spawn, and I mean, Dusty not helping themselves out there with that Reaper ultimate, but Chili has swapped over to the Cassidy and trying to put down some fire, and this might be the swap over that they needed.
Yeah, great swap indeed. Oh, never saw that semi-truck coming. Oh, the flank pin from Alibi. Oh my goodness. With 5 seconds left, Johnstown has to make a move. Dusty Taco's on the high ground. XCD moving in, but there's Baptiste. Ooh, nice accretion coming out of Worm. Keeping Basilisk at least mindful of the damage incoming. XCD's got to throw down a decent shatter. Might be able to get geoed out of there, but there's Daddypoor landing yet another stick into the back line. Dino does leave the Amp Matrix up before getting stuck, but the sustain just not there. As Downeypour just moved in with surgical precision and decimated the ranks of Johnstown Steel.
Yeah, that's sort of a situation where you're in a real tough spot. You got Deca up top throwing down deadly shots from above, and then you got Downeypour making moves when it comes down to the Tracer play. It's just a difficult sort of 1-2 punch type of scenario that Johnstown Steel really didn't have an answer to. They had nothing really to dislodge the Widowmaker, and of course, it's difficult to deal with the Tracer at the best of times, not less when you're trying to deal with Deca's Widowmaker up top and you have no answers for that. So Scranton Storm, well, they've set the tone. They have set the win condition here for this series, for this championship. And, well, it's certainly not very far away, just 73.76 meters.
Now Johnstown Steel are faced with a tough decision of going for the close hold or a little bit more stable positioning around this first corner. Typically, the benefit of the close hold is that you can come in and get a second engagement from the defense before the car reaches the entrance to the distillery. But with the box of victory so close to that bus stop, I'm not sure they're going to be able to get 2 defenses off on this.
Well, and they're going for the close defense. XCD's let Scranton know.
It's advertising it. Yes.
It's like, hey, come beat us. Unfortunately, I love the confidence, but it's not been well placed in the past here. And with Deca pulling out for the second time, pulling out this Bastion, I mean, it's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, I was trying to teleport behind them, but Johnstown Steel were aware. They caught the move. Another cheeky there, but Alibi able to win the battle of the Reinhardts up close. The rest of Johnstown just has to back up and await their main tank's return.
Probably the best case scenario, though. They bought 30 seconds, and they're going to be able to regroup. That's a brilliant shot from Downey.
Filthy!
I mean, Deca could shoot shots, but Downey certainly ain't missing either.
Yeah, exactly. This is Downey, who's playing Tracer on the defense, who's gone over to a Widowmaker of their own. Oh, man, XED had enough of that. That's a hammer to the face. XCD kind of caught in a very tough spot here. Spectrum needs to get him out. No, cannot. Spectrum trying to bail right now. I mean, slowly backing up with Dusty Taco. This is a broken defense at the moment.
Yeah, and this isn't something that's going to work long term. There's a far closer spawn for the offense here, as Downey once again dispatches with Chili Willy, winning out that DPS duel.
And Chili Willy was up on top of the billboard, so that shuts down one of those sight lines. Dusty Taco, oh, okay. Kicks off Downey from a distance with attack visor. trying to evade some mines. A lot of space created. Scranton Storm inch closer and closer to their championship title. Geo's able to pick up 2 in that vein. Ally charging in. Ricochet comes up with a final blow onto XED. Lucio getting in the mix. Everybody from Scranton Storm, a part of this well-deserved victory. Everybody getting in the feed. Everybody doing their part, and they are rewarded with the belt, with the title. Champions of your TEC Amateur League.
Oh my goodness. This that makes me just shiver all over every time I see that.
Right.
But
It's a skin crawl.
yeah, a little bit. Nonetheless, back to the actual game. I mean, these shots are phenomenal from Deca. Headshot after headshot does eventually fall to the bar there at the end, but it's irrelevant. They won the game and won the series, and they won the championship. Really incredible work. Scranton Storm confirming what is now a entirely undefeated season all the way through the playoffs. That's something that not many teams can say they've done before.
No, and we saw Scranton Storm back in the fall, but it was an entirely different roster. They seemingly got upgrades in every position, and man, they came out swinging here in our first tournament of 2022. Now it will be up to them to defend their title going forward, but for right now, they can celebrate, elated no doubt by this undefeated season, 9-0 total. Nobody can stand in their way. They are alone at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can't help but be impressed. I think we saw from every individual there for Scranton, some individual plays that were making me drop my mouth. I'm just sitting there jaw on the floor kind of deal. But I gotta say, commiserations, Johnstown Steel. I think they played a good game. I think they were just a little bit outmatched, and sometimes that's the reality. I could say as a plat player myself. Sometimes I'm a little bit outmatched. Sometimes you as a team are a little bit outmatched. And Johnstown,
Absolutely.
I think, can come away feeling good that they were able to pick up such a good season overall and second place, by the way.
Yeah, nothing to scoff at. Johnstown should be holding their heads high after the season that they put up. So no doubt, no doubt. Second place is absolutely something to be proud of. But one last thing before we close this out, I'd like to choose an MVP of this series. And I don't know about you, Vincent, but Basilisk is really the one standing out to me, and I think has my nod.
I tend to agree with you actually. I think you could make an argument, generally speaking, for either of the DPS players,
Sure.
but I think that overall generalization, Basilisk certainly did make across all 3 maps as well. Right, there was standouts for every map. Basilisk played a complete game, in my opinion.
Yeah, both offensive and defensively, was getting picks, was saving the team, well-timed immortalities and
Mhm.
amplification matrices. So yeah, there you go. Basilisk, your MVP of your amateur league grand finals. So that's well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast. Really appreciate y'all hanging out with us and enjoying this fantastic game. We do have the TEC Amateur League D1 and D2 Rocket League Grand Finals taking place tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern. That's going to be Johnstown Steel facing off against the Indiana Warhawk in both divisions, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
And then don't forget to hit exclamation point socials in chat. Use that command. Go follow TEC on Twitter and the other socials to keep up to date. Let them know when all the stuff is happening. And you've got command casters for our personal socials, and we'd certainly appreciate a follow as well. Believe it or not, it goes a long way to helping us in our casting endeavors.
Yeah.
Vincent, any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, it's been an absolute privilege, and I'm excited to see everyone next time. Thanks to everybody, of course, who's tuning in, though.
Absolutely. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Big shout out to Oki behind the scenes for keeping us looking good and bringing this all together for this awesome production. And thank you once again. We will see you next time. Have a wonderful evening, my friends.